welcome back to the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by Advantage Home Mortgage. I'm Ben Kaysen, here with Vern Larson, as always, as well as Megan Young. How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Vern, how are you?
Ben, I'm really glad to see you wearing a suit. I'm glad to see you bringing it to the level of the Mortgage Minute. Like, I know I had to get there with you today, but
yeah, see, like, usually I do these podcasts, and so I don't always wear a suit. I usually sometimes just wear casual stuff. Last couple times you've come in looking really nice. I was like, I'm going to step it up today for all my stuff. Then you come in and you show me up. You walk in with your reflector glasses, pinstripes. Oh, can't compete. I cannot compete.
So I have an incredible guest today.
Okay.
Most incredible. Let's talk about Megan Young.
Megan Young. So Megan, you work for Advantage.
I do.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do there?
Oh, I do a little bit of everything. Vern and I, we've been together since day one. So started out just him and I. And so I do all of the accounting, HR, processing, everything like that. And so we've just grown a lot since then. So wow. I still do a lot of processing, but I also do a lot of the accounting and things like that. So pretty much everything.
She has a Superwoman t-shirt that we make her wear every day. She just like 9 jobs. I like to give her titles. They're a lot cheaper than raises. So
okay, nice.
Yeah, I just keep giving her titles, new titles, you know.
What all titles do you have right now?
HR manager. She's a vice president of processing.
Nice.
Like we can give her whatever. We can give her a new one on the show today if you want. Communications director now.
Nice. The communications director. Congratulations on the raise.
No raise, just title.
No raise, just title. Let's make that clear.
Yeah. My email signature just gets longer and longer. That's all.
Nice. So yeah, with all that stuff that you're doing, how'd you get into that?
Got my accounting degree at CSU Pueblo. Back in 2009 and got into accounting in 2007. And so I knew from then I just loved it. And so I knew I wasn't cut out for an accounting office necessarily. I like the day-to-day business. And so ended up getting into the loans, and every day is something new. It's extremely challenging. Every day, every loan is different. There's things that we're going to talk about today that some things that we ask for are the same on every loan, but then everything is individualized too. So I get to do the accounting things that I love, but then also get to play in this field too.
Cool. Was it hard to expand into that side compared to accounting if you got your degree in accounting and then jumped into all the mortgage stuff?
I think that having the accounting degree helped me be detail oriented and look at things with a different perspective.
Gotcha.
Like she said, she was with me from day one. I'm probably the world's greatest trainer. So she was kind of lucky to learn the business from the inside from me. No, really.
Nice.
No, that was kind of like a sink or swim. Like, get it, girl, get it, learn it. She's amazing. Yeah. One of the most trusted people I have in town, you know, said, hey, you really need to talk to Megan. She's amazing. And it's worked out great. It's been a great partnership. So love her to death.
That's awesome. Definitely. So we've been doing our show. We've been going through kind of the process of buying a home. We started all the way back and like, what do you need to like do to help your credit out? We've talked a lot about, you know, once you've bought the house, what the process has been like, go check those out as well. Now, where is your role in the process, Megan?
So basically now you've gone under contract. So you've gotten pre-qualified, done all of those things, gotten your credit up, made sure you're not going and getting an auto loan, whatever it is. So now you've gone under contract. And so the agent sends over the contract, and that's when we kind of pick up and start our process. So at that point in time, get everything input and then go through the loan and see, okay, what exactly are we going to need from this person?
So when I've done your initial application, so you've called in or you filled out online, we've had you fill in the blanks. Like, I work here, I make X amount of dollars, I have this much money. Yeah. So I put those things in as kind of a general. And now Megan is going to verify all those things.
Okay.
So she's kind of like the original gatekeeper. And then we're going to have an underwriter, which is like the final gatekeeper coming up here on another segment. But yeah, so if you've told me you work, you know, at Target Distribution and you're making $18 an hour, and you're going to come in and bring in your pay stubs, W-2s and all those things. And Megan's going to ask you for those. So when you get a pay stub in, Megan, what are you looking for on those?
Definitely looking at the employer is important because a lot of people will tell us that they work for, let's say, UPS, but really they're contracted out. So that's kind of a basic piece of information that sometimes gets looked over. But then mostly, especially now with COVID, is the number of hours you're working. So if you've told us, especially during your pre-qual process, that you work 40 hours, are you really working those 40 hours? Because any variations to that isn't necessarily a deal killer. It's just something that we have to at least acknowledge, discuss, figure out if this is something that's continued, if it was a one-time thing, anything like that.
Got to address it, get some letters of explanation written. Luckily, I also attended CSU Pueblo, got an A in creative writing, so I'm here to help you.
Got an A in creative writing. I love that. Yeah. So what does that look like then if I'm the home buyer? What do I have to do for this process?
So how I like to start my process is once I get everything input for the contract and everything, then I go through it. I put an email together. That way you have a simple emailed checklist that you can go line by line to send me the documents as you get them. So first thing is going to be your ID. We're going to get a copy of your valid government issued photo ID. Typically it's your driver's license, but you always have those people that it could just be an identification card or something like that. So ID, and then I'm going to verify your income. So I'm going to need 30 days pay stubs. I'm going to need W-2s. And that's just if you are an hourly employee or an employee that gets a W-2. If you're self-employed, then that's a whole nother list. But that's going to be the majority of the people is pay stubs, W-2s.
Usually if you're self-employed, on my level, when we first start with the pre-qualification, I'm going to ask you for your tax returns because it's just such a big variance if you're self-employed on what's really your income. You know what I mean? Because you may gross 300,000, you may write it down to 20,000. So I'll typically ask you for your adjusted gross income. And so I know, or I'll ask you for a copy of your taxes. There's calculations, formulas, worksheets where we can add some stuff back in on self-employed. So that's a whole nother ball of wax. But yeah, for your standard person that works at the mill, that works at the hospital or whatever, this is what we're going to be looking for. So your W-2s, pay stubs, and then calculate your income from there.
Yep. Then I'll be looking at employment history too, making sure I've got to verify at least 2 years employment history in most cases. Sometimes school transcripts work for employment history as well. If you were dental hygienist, just got out of dental school, we can use that, or a doctor or some sort of program like that. We can use that for your employment history as well. So need to make sure all of that information is filled out.
No high school, and then your college has to tie into what you're doing.
College hat. So like if I'm just getting a bachelor's degree in like communications, like for me, for example.
Well, that would work because you work here at Wake Up. So that would totally tie together and make sense. But if you were working like
Kmart
and you were getting a doctorate, then the schooling wouldn't help us.
Gotcha. So is it like a really active process as well? So like say I send my stuff to you and then like the next week work calls like, hey, I want you down to 22 hours this week. Like, is that going to be a problem, or is it just like what I just sent you?
Definitely can be a problem depending on the lender that we're working with. So we do have a lender that we work with a lot of loans, and we do have to provide pay stubs throughout the duration of the loan. So they will be seeing any of those changes and things like that. So definitely let us know would be the best thing is, hey, this is coming up. They've told us that they're going to cut hours or anything like that. That would be a conversation to have with your loan processing staff, your loan officer, just so that we can be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we would adjust your pre-qualification if we knew that was coming in that scenario, because they're definitely going to find out. We're going to find out by the end. So
sure.
Yeah.
They'll do a verification of employment. So typically all of the lenders are doing a verifications of employment prior to closing the loan as well. So that would be another time where maybe they didn't find out in the process necessarily, but they do that final verification of employment, and the other person on the other side of the phone call, your employer mentions something. So
yeah, can we talk about like what would you guys do then if I ran into a problem like that and we were deep in the process and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm only going to get 20 hours this week, but I really want this house. How would you guys help me out?
Well, there's a magnitude of things we can do. Each loan is going to be, a unique situation, but in those situations, the first thing I always look at is there any other income I missed? Is there child support? Is there a second job that you've had for a while? Is there, any social security, anything like that I can add in? Is there some debt that's really easy to pay off? Maybe you have like a Visa credit card that has a $500 balance, but the payment's showing $160. If we pay that $500 off, that frees up $160 in your debt to income ratio. If nothing like that's going to work, is there somebody in your family that's willing to co-sign this loan and help you, kind of like a car, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, something along those lines? When is this going to stop? Is this a temporary thing? Is this like a 3-week COVID thing and then you're going to go back to full time? Maybe we just get an extension on your contract. So I'm your advocate. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to tell me what's going on. Just tell me what's going on. It's a lot easier for me to problem solve if I know there's a problem, or I know what the problem is, then I can get that taken care of. But if I don't know and it just jumps up, then everybody.
You'll find it eventually. Yeah. It's not like you can just hide it. It's
no,
happen.
You're never gonna hide it. Yeah, we're gonna find out everything. It's amazing what people think that we're not gonna see. But just like we had talked about in the credit and the don't go buy a car because we're gonna know about it. They do checks and balances all the way to the very end. Obviously, we don't want to loan you money if we're setting you up for failure. So that's why they check what they check. So then the other thing after income is the down payment. So maybe you're using Chaffa and you're only putting $1,000 down. Maybe you're putting 5-10% down. So Megan's going to verify your funds. So when you're verifying funds, what are you looking for, Megan?
So I get 2 months bank statements for the account or accounts that are being used. And that could be your accounts. That could be somebody else's account. So if you are getting gifted money, there's a letter that needs to be done. We have to get 30 days bank statements for the person that's gifting you the funds. But if you're using your own account, then 2 months bank statements has to be all the pages of the bank statements. Can't be any blackouts on that bank statement.
You can't hide that you're going to the liquor store every day, Ben. You can't. Don't black that
see
out.
Everything.
Yeah, we get to see it.
Yeah, so lenders do have really specific requirements when it comes to bank statements. If you get a printout from online banking and it's a transaction printout, you've got to have the URL and the page numbers on there. If you go to the bank and get the printout, you have to have the teller stamp it. And so there are very specific requirements. They're not coming from us. They're coming from any of the lenders that we've ever worked with. And that's just to verify, where are the statements coming from? Are they legitimate statements? Things like that.
Yes.
So what they're trying to avoid here, Ben, is like fraud. So if, somebody wants to get their Adobe program out and try to maybe cut and paste a bank statement and make them show that they have the money. And, what we're really worried about is that the funds are legitimate funds. Okay. So the funds can't come from me. They can't come from your seller. They can't come from your agents. Those are all interested parties in the transaction. They have something to gain if the transaction closes. So if the seller gave you a down payment, that's an unacceptable source. Okay. He wants that loan to go through just as bad as everybody else. So he can get his house sold. So that's really what they're looking for. They're not being intrusive. They're not being crazy, but if you have a yard sale, which we see it all the time. So you have a yard sale because in a month from now you're moving. So you have a yard sale and you have $1,200 cash comes into your account. We have to document that cash. And if we can't, then we go down another problem solving road of how are we going to fix this problem? So anything that comes in, payroll, a 401k withdrawal, anything we can document. If you sold a car and it has a title and we have a bill of sale, anything like that, we just have to get the paperwork to document it. And it's not, us trying to be hardcore or whatever. It's just, that's what it is. No matter where you get your loan, you're going to deal with this stuff if you have cash deposits or if you're trying to bring cash to the table. We don't know where it came from.
If you're in the business that you collect tip money, and you are planning on buying a house at some point in the near future, get those tips deposited. That way you're not doing this lump sum deposit. A lot of people will take the cash. Let's say they have $1,000, their earnest money is $1,000, and we tell them you have to do that in the form of a check or a cashier's check. They'll take that $1,000 that they've been saving, deposit it, and cut the check. Well, that's still a cash transaction that we can't verify where it came from. So if you're planning on buying a house, definitely start getting that in. Whether you have to create another account so that you have a separate account that you're not spending any money out of, do that, but get it in a bank account.
And once it's in there for 60 days, we don't care.
It's legit.
It's legit. Yeah, it's called seasoned then. So after 60 days, we're not going to care. So
Gotcha.
If you have cash, get it in.
Gotcha. Is there any other common things that people will trip up on in the processing process?
Another thing that we're looking for when we go into your bank statements is we're looking for additional debt that we may not know of. So there's a lot of places out there that don't report to credit, but if we see you're making a payment each month, like a really small bank somewhere.
Collection agency. That
Collection agency might not be on your credit. If something's not on your credit, but you're making a monthly payment and it's on there 2 months in a row, then we're probably going to ask about, hey, what is going on with this? And it might be a totally legitimate thing, I told my girlfriend I'd pay her car payment for 6 months because I lost a bet on the Broncos going to the Super Bowl, whatever.
Yeah.
So
does that include like Netflix or Hulu or stuff like that?
No. Those are, gym memberships, Netflix, Hulu.
Yeah.
Those are all things that you can cancel and you don't have to carry it. So it's not something that counts against your debt ratio, because if you decide to cancel, you can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what happens after the processing process is done?
After the processing process is done, then we are going to send your loan into underwriting. And so then the underwriter is going to put kind of like a second set of eyes on the file and make sure that we've submitted all the things they need. Also during the processing, Megan's going to be getting your homeowner's insurance, your title, reviewing that. I know we talked to Cassie about title work. Megan's going to take a second peek at that and make sure there's nothing we're missing. What else are some things you're going to do? Let's see. You're going to review the appraisal, make sure that the value, review the contract, make sure all the names are right. So yeah, she's really detail oriented, making sure that everything is perfect.
Underwriters have access to a lot of other systems too that we don't have access to. They're going to be able to look and see, did you have a foreclosure that maybe we didn't know about, or something else that comes up, an address that maybe was somewhere in your history that we didn't have knowledge of and have to ask about. So we do our best to pre-underwrite the file and get as much as we can. That way we don't come back. We're not waiting a couple of weeks potentially for underwriting, and then they come back with things that we could have already done. But there's always those things that they can come up with too.
And so a lot of people have that, why didn't you just ask me for this in the beginning? But so if you think about it, there's kind of three sets. So when I first initially look at your stuff, I might say, hey, you're going to need your W-2s, pay stubs, blah, blah, blah. And then Megan's going to get the file after you're under contract and say, okay, I need your bank statements. We need this. We need to show this earnest deposit. We need, la, 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 la. And then it goes into the underwriting, and then you might get a couple more requests. And then sometimes when we send stuff in that the underwriting's asking for, it creates another question. You know what I mean? So there could be potentially 4 different times you get asked for stuff during the process, and to people it's really frustrating. It's like, why can't you just figure this out? Like, what did you need from me? But and that's why it's because different sets of eyes, different things, and I've even had it all the way down to the QC, like the quality control, right before they're going to send the wire. Underwriter missed this, like we need this, show this payment was made and things like that. So
lots of sets of eyes. They're all looking for something a little bit different,
right? And don't get frustrated if you get asked for stuff multiple times. It's really normal. The only time you should get excited is if I get excited. So if I start freaking out, I'll go, well, did you, then you should get excited. But if I'm just like, hey man, do you have this? Then just be fine. It's fine. We've seen it. Trust me, we've seen it.
Yeah, I do think that a lot of people think that we're trying to deny the loan or come up with a reason or something like that not to give it, and that's totally the opposite. We advocate. Vern does. I mean, everybody that we work with, our lenders, our underwriters, everybody wants somebody to get into a home, especially, and so everybody works towards a solution. But sometimes we just have to ask additional questions in order to get there and get the full picture.
Sure. Absolutely. So do you guys have any like stories of maybe going through the processing thing and you had a weird thing come up and then you guys were able to overcome that?
Oh, geez.
Every day,
every week. Like, I think one of my favorites was just like the lady had 13 jobs in 24 months.
Wow.
And the guidelines, kind of gray area, guideline is 3 jobs. Like after 3 jobs, like, is this person stable or what is going on? You know? So it's like, you just gotta, what is going on? Like, what's happening? Like, tell me. And she was just like, yeah, there's a guy, won't leave me alone. He's kind of a stalker. I was like, do you have any proof on it? And she had what are those called? Restraining order. So we got a copy of the restraining order. We put the letter together. Oh, wow. Just like, I was here for 5 weeks and he showed up. I was here, showed up. Now he's in jail. Should be good. Yeah. And went through. So I mean, there's all these different scenarios, and like I said, I will definitely sit down with you and help you write your letters of explanation to the underwriter. Yeah. So you just let's get the general first out there on the table. What happened? Why did you have this bankruptcy? Why did you have this foreclosure? And then let's fine tune it, and
then you work to get the answer.
And we'll just put it together. What really needs to be said.
That's awesome, you guys. Sweet. That's an interesting part of the process. I think This is one of the ones I think most people just don't know happens. I feel like it's pretty behind the scenes, right?
It's 100% behind the scenes, and it's probably one of the most frustrating parts of the transaction for the clients, because they just don't understand why we're asking about the things. Like we need to know why you're paying this $250 payment out of your account, and we get a lot of, it's none of your business.
Sure.
And then if we're getting gift funds from grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, we need your bank statement. And they're just like, totally, no, I'm not giving you my bank statement, or I'm going to black it out and send it. And I get it. I understand. The only good thing is, we're right here in town. Obviously, we've been here 20 years.
Yeah.
You know who we are. You can come into the office. You can see us, talk to us anytime you want. We've got to have it. Everything we have is secure. It's going to go to the underwriter. It's going to get signed off, and then it's going to be, filed securely. But yeah, we've got to have it. And it turns into, usually I'm pretty good I'm like, let me talk to your mom and dad. We'll get this handled. But at first it can be really a stressful thing.
Yeah, it's definitely stressful, and there's an ebb and flow to the loan process, because initially, man, you just went under contract and now you're getting a million emails. You've got to sign docs here, and you've got to provide documents here, and maybe sign some more docs here. You got to sign the contract, and so you have a bunch of people that are coming at you at one time because we've got to get everything right now, but then it'll die out for a little bit, while we're waiting for the underwriter to review the file, and then it picks back up and we ask for some more documents. And so it's kind of like this flow that can be stressful for sure for them.
So if you are that first time buyer, just be prepared to be asked for stuff, up to 4 to 5 times. It's normal. It's part of the process. It's nothing to worry about.
And it's not you guys sabotaging them.
It's not us sabotaging. It's the complete opposite. Like, we don't get paid unless the loan closes. So we want to make sure your loan closes if it's possible. And then, the other thing is just, if there is something major happening in your life, let us know. We can probably work around it. We've probably seen it before. Vern, my transmission went out. I went and bought a car this weekend. I know I'm under contract, and you told me in your credit hacks not to do this, but I did it. So it's okay. Let me know. Let me see the payments. Let me see what we can do. So, I'm switching jobs. I got offered this $10 an hour raise at a new place. I'm going. It's fine. Just let's work through it together.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you want to get, more on that, go check out our podcast. Like you said about that, you were talking about the mistakes to avoid in the home buying process. So
right.
We already talked a lot about, cash, picking that up and putting it in your account. I think we talked about basically everything you were saying as well, just things to avoid. It's important.
But Megan's the one. She's the one that catches it. So
yeah.
You got to watch out for her. She'll catch you. Don't worry. We're going to have an underwriter here next week to talk about the underwriting process.
Yep.
And then we're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost to close.
We're almost to the clear to close.
There we go.
Thanks so much for taking time out of your day, Megan, to come in.
Yeah, thank you guys.
No problem. Thank you.
She knows a lot. You can just tell. You guys both know a ton about what you do.
She had the best trainer in the world. Like I said.
Is that what it was?
Self-taught. Thank you.
Self-taught. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Both of you guys, of course, work for Advantage Home Mortgage. Give me a little plug. How can we contact Advantage Home Mortgage?
Advantage Home Mortgage. Easy phone number, 546-3100, right here in town. All of our social media has a click to apply. So if you want to apply, just click on that link, fill it out. I think it takes about 5 minutes, and then it'll shoot into one of our emails. A loan officer will be back with you, let you know what you qualify for. You can get that home buying process started.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you guys. And go check out the remainder of the Mortgage Minute, the ones we've done already, talking about the process, and keep your eye out for every week. We've got the next part coming up. So as you mentioned, next week we'll be getting more into, further down the process, getting closer to clear to close. We're getting there. Thank you so much for being on the ride with us. For Ben Kaysen, Vern Larson, and Megan Young, thank you so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.